Alright guys, we're doing section 2.9, chapter 2, section 9. This is factoring completely. This section really should have been on last week's test because it is factoring. But I didn't want to make the test any longer than it already was, and we'd already gone 3 weeks. I didn't want to go a whole nother week with this section on there. So go ahead and write this down. Factoring will be on your next test. And there will be some problems that say x squared plus 10x plus 25, where you just have to factor a trinomial just like you did on the last test. So that problem will be on there, and there also will be problems that look like this: x squared minus 49, right? Difference of perfect squares. So the thing you need to remember and the thing you need to write down is review factoring before the test. Okay? We're going to talk about a different kind of factoring today. But this stuff here, in order to get some real problems on the test, I have to put some of these on there. Okay, what would the answer be here? What does this break up into?
X plus 5.
X plus 7 and x minus 7. Okay, what about this one? X squared plus 10x plus 25. What are the factors of 25 that add up to 10? X plus 5 and x plus 5. Another way of writing that is x plus 5 squared. So here are two factoring problems. That's kind of review. Okay, and that stuff will be on your test. Even though I tested it last week, I have to put those on there. Okay? When we move into these type problems, there should be a red light flashing. Okay, when you see this type of problem, because these stand out for a certain reason. Okay? Who can look at this problem and tell me what is different about this problem than the ones we had on the test? Instantly, what do you see? It's x to the, or y to the third, but these could have been y to the third. They could have had a GCF. You're right, but that's not what I'm looking for. How many? There's 4 terms. Your hint that you're going to use this method is that there are 4 terms. That's a big hint. This is the only type problem that you've seen with 4 terms. You haven't had to factor anything with 4 terms yet. The method that we're using is factoring by grouping. Write that down. Factoring by grouping. When I type this into YouTube, that's how I'm going to group it. Or that's what I'm going to name it. Factoring by grouping. Okay? That's the main concept that I'm teaching you. Okay? Let me erase this over here so I can write my steps. Questions so far? Anybody have any questions so far? Alright. So here's the problem. The directions are going to say factor completely. It's not going to tell you to factor by grouping. Okay? It may today, but it won't on the test. It'll just say factor. Step number 1 is going to be your parentheses. Okay? These aren't your answer parentheses. You're actually going to group your problem here. You're going to group the first 2 terms, and you're going to group the last 2 terms. Factoring by grouping, we group them up. Group the first 2, group the last 2. Okay? Step number 2, GCF. Pull a GCF out of the first parentheses, pull a GCF out of the second parentheses. Okay? What's the GCF of this parentheses, Carter?
Y squared.
Very good. Y squared, right? And I'm left with what's on the inside. If I pull y squared out, what's left on the inside? Y plus 7. Good, Zoo. Y plus 7, right? I pull a y squared out, I get y plus 7. Okay? Same thing over here. You got 2y plus 14, Savannah. What's my GCF here? 2y and 14. 2. Very good. Positive 2. If I pull a positive 2 out, what will be inside the parentheses right here? Y plus 7. That's very important. Y plus 7 and y plus 7. I'm going to put step 3. If same, proceed. Step number 3. If they're the same, then you can proceed. What does that mean? That means that this is exactly the same as this. If those 2 parentheses are exactly the same, then you can proceed to the next step. Okay, what is the next step? Write your answer. Y squared plus 2 and y plus 7. Where in the world did I get my answer? Everybody write it down, and then I want all eyes up here watching so that I can explain it one time. Write it down. That's your answer. You're done. Factoring by group. The best way that I can explain this is that this is kind of like the distributive property backwards. What if you had to multiply this? What if the problem just said multiply this? You do y squared times this stuff, then you do 2 times this stuff. Well, that's what you have up here. So it's kind of like the distributive property in reverse. Another way of looking at it is this is the same as this. They go right there and they do 1 time. So some people always want to put it down twice. You only do it 1 time. Then you do this value, and they make the first parentheses. Y squared and positive 2, y plus 2. Y plus 7 makes y plus 7. And you're done. Questions? Let's do another example, and I think it'll click a little better. Any questions so far? All right, let me erase. Factoring by group. Factoring by group. Here's example 2. Y squared plus 2y plus yx plus 2x. First step, Anna. Parentheses, group. Group these two and group these two. Okay? That's your first step. Boyd, what now? What's the GCF of my first parentheses here? Y. And what's left inside, Boyd, when I pull out a Y? Outstanding. Very good. Y plus 2. Okay, Chester, what do we do on the other one?
We need to find the GCF on the other one.
Which is?
X.
Alright, here's a question. You already have this Y plus 2. What are you shooting for to be over here in this other parentheses?
Y plus 2.
Y plus 2. It doesn't always work out that way, but in the back of your mind, you need to be thinking, hey, hopefully I'm going to pull something out and it's going to be Y plus 2. I pull out an X, exactly like she said, and I get Y plus 2. Outstanding. Okay, now what? If I have the exact same thing here and here, then what can I do? Mathis, tell me what my answer would be.
If you have the same thing, it's y plus, parentheses, y plus x.
Good.
And y plus 2.
Outstanding. Correct. Anybody else? Questions? Anything hard about that?
No.
Okay, let's do another example. Let's do another example because I know what you're going to ask. What's your question?
What if they don't come out the same?
Exactly. See, you guys are always one step ahead of me, right? What if it doesn't work out? Right? Let's look at this example. X cubed minus 12 plus 3x minus 4x squared. Okay? First step, Nash. All right, so we do our parentheses and then we stop, and we're looking right here. Everybody's eyes up here. X cubed minus 12. Is there a GCF there? No. X cubed minus 12. If there's no GCF, I can't do anything. I can't go forward. Another clue that I might have to do something in this, look at this. X cubed, no x, and x squared. Is it in descending order? No. If it's not in descending order, that should be a clue. Hey, maybe I'm going to have to do something. What do you think I might have to do? What word might tell me what I'm going to have to do with my 4 terms here? A better word is rearrange. Write it down. If you don't have a GCF, or if you pull out GCFs and they're not the same, your next line of defense is to rearrange. If given the choice of rearranging, what order should I put them in? Descending order. X cubed minus 4x squared plus 3x minus 12. Now I've rearranged them. Now they're in descending order. Now let's try. Marla, what's my first step? Parentheses. Group them up. Very good. What's my GCF right here, Marla? X squared. I pull x squared out to the front. What's left inside?
X minus 4.
X minus 4. Outstanding. What about over here? What's my GCF?
3.
Positive 3. Okay, very good. What's left inside?
X minus 4.
Very good. And what's my answer? Tell me, finish it out.
3x squared.
That number and that number make the first parenthesis.
Oh yeah, x squared plus 3.
Good.
And
And then what's left?
X minus
Can I break this down further?
No.
X minus 4, is that perfect square minus perfect square? Can I break it down into x plus 2x minus 2? Why not?
Because the X squared.
X is not a perfect square. X is not a perfect square. Okay, I got one more example to do. I know you're getting tired. I got one more example. Stay with me. Questions? That was very good. What was the key word there?
Rearrange.
Rearrange. Sometimes you have to rearrange in order to make it work. All right, let's do one more example. How are we doing on time, Logan?
We're at 11 minutes right now.
Perfect. All right, here we go. Question?
Does it always have to be in descending order for it to be right?
No. Is this one in necessarily descending order? No. You got an X, you got another X. You got 4 terms. So anytime you have 4 terms, you know you're going to try to factor by group. Technically, you could combine these into 7x and factor it the old school way, the way we did it last week, and you'd be okay. But in this case, we go ahead and put our parentheses here and here. Right? We pull out an x and we get x plus 8. We're looking at negative x and negative 8. We know that we're trying to get x plus 8. What GCF do you think we're going to have to pull out to make it x plus 8?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. Some students don't see that right off the bat. Let me say it again. X plus 8 is our goal. So over here, we're trying to get to x plus 8. But right now, we've got negative x and negative 8. How do we change negative x and negative 8 into positive x and positive 8? Well, we take out a negative 1. We take out a negative 1. Okay? Then we finish up with x minus 1, like that, and x plus 8, like that. And we're done. That 1 throws people off sometimes. Okay? The 1 throws people off sometimes. Eyes up here. Questions? Any questions? Yes?
So if the negative, you pull out the negative 1 and don't do anything else?
You pull out the negative 1, that's the only GCF. There is no other GCF. Sometimes it might be a negative 2 or a negative 3, but x and 8, the only GCF is 1. That's the only thing you can pull out. Good question. Anybody else? All right. I got some other ones that aren't factoring by grouping, but that are in this section. I think we talked about a little about last week. Let me do 1 or 2 of these examples, and then we'll be done. Write this down. Negative 2x cubed plus 6x squared plus 108x plus 108x. First thing you should notice is what? How many terms? 3 terms. So are we factoring by grouping? No. We don't have 4 terms. We're not factoring by grouping. So we go back to the steps that we did last week. What's our first step then? Always. What's first step? GCF. Do we have a GCF?
Yes.
What is it? 2. Alright. We've got a 2, right? 2, 6. Is that supposed to be a 6? Yeah. 2.
2x.
Hold on. 2, 6, and 108. We know that the number is 2. What is the variable? We got x cubed, x, and x. Oh, sorry, x cubed, x squared, and x. What's our variable?
X.
Alright. Here's the dilemma. If I pull out a 2x, what's going to be my first term inside the parentheses? Negative x squared. Is that what I want inside my parentheses? Do I ever want to try to factor when x squared is negative? No. So I have a choice here. Instead of pulling out positive 2x, what could I pull out? A negative 2x, right? And that will make my life a lot easier. I can pull out negative 2x, and what value is going to be here?
Positive.
Positive x squared. This is where it gets tricky. Then what's this value going to be? Negative 3x. Why is it negative? Negative times negative makes a positive. Then what's this value going to be? Negative 54, I think. Is that right? Negative 54? Alright. Are we done? No, we have a trinomial. We pulled the GCF out. We now have a trinomial. Now we have to factor this using the same rules we did last week. Negative 2x is my GCF. put my parentheses like this. I got x and x. I got plus and minus. You can do all of that without doing any thinking. Right? That's just automatic. Why is it plus and negative?
Because the
The second sign is negative, and when that second sign is negative, one's positive and one's negative. Now, if we think a little bit, we probably ought to be able to finish this problem out. What are the factors of 54 that have a difference of -3?
Negative
9 and 6, right? But which one needs to be negative in order to get -3? -9 and +6. Very good responses. Okay, now are we done?
Yes.
Are we done now? Can I break this down some more?
No.
Why not?
X
X is not a perfect square. Good that you're looking at it, but it's not a perfect square, so you're done. Questions? What are the directions going to say? Factor completely, meaning pull the GCF out and factor completely. These are the hardest type, okay? Because you've got to pull that GCF out, and then you've got to do some more work. Question?
Okay, I know you said always keep x squared positive, but like, why couldn't it be negative?
It could be, and one of these would have to be negative. It just throws your signs off. It's a lot more difficult. If at all possible, keep x squared positive. Yes?
If it said solve, you would have 3 answers, right?
That's exactly right. What would they be?
0,
0,
6,
-6, and
positive.
+9. Very good. Outstanding. How much time we got?
We're at 16 minutes and 35.
Oh no! Hit record. Turn it off.